It is 5:30, so we should probably get going at least. Call the meeting to order, and the next thing I was going to welcome Barbara if she came, but she may yet. And also tell you that we don't have a housing authority member anymore. Chuck Konecki resigned from the committee, and I did give Jim Sini the information, and they had a meeting on Monday, but I don't know, maybe they didn't have a meeting on Monday.
They did.
Well, we'll see if, I don't know if they named anyone or tried to find someone or anything. But that would be an area that I'd really like to see them spend some time with. They've got a nice amount of money. So, okay, I guess we'll move on to...
Can I give you a little piece of information regarding housing and what they're doing? The planning board has submitted a grant proposal for DLTA funding, district local technical assistance funding, specifically to update the housing.
Oh, good.
What is it called? HPP, housing plan. I forgot what the first P stands for, but that just went in. And I know that Jim Sini and Paul Demon and others are, if this plan happens and if the funding comes through, they will be able to, work together and thus maybe figure a way to use some of that funding that is in the CPA funds. So just a little side there.
Well, I'm kind of glad it's been there because we've had to help people this year stay in their homes. And so I'm not worried about that little bit of money. And I know they told us before we couldn't do that again. So I don't know. But then I saw that Hadley had been told through the state that they could use that to fund really people that were behind on their rent. So I don't know how these two things play out. We can't put it in the hands of the almoners, so it's nice and quiet. And, but they're saying now help people pay their rent. And I don't know what kind of additional things they'd have to have.
That raises a big question, because I was only thinking of the almoners money that you and I talked about, Virginia, for a senior to remain in their homes. But there are individuals who are not seniors who might need that kind of assistance.
But, I don't know anything around what Hadley was doing. We have somebody else here.
Joy,
welcome.
Hello. I do have to leave at 6 o'clock. I have a vet appointment for my dog.
Oh, well, I hope he's all right.
She's fine. She's a puppy. She's getting her shots.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, we do have a few things that we can get through, I think. So I sent out the minutes of the meetings that Janet had. Were you able to get into them? I think to kind of speed things along, if anyone saw anything in that they think should be changed.
No, they were fine.
They were fine?
Yeah.
Move that the minutes be accepted.
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I think we got enough of them. The kind of next thing I'd like you to look at just a bit, because there's a lot of stuff coming up, is the financial report that I finally got, and it didn't seem to really want to go through correctly, but I could read it. And right now it looks like in our undesignated, we have, I'll just give you the first part, $616,000. In the open space, we have 55,000. Historical preservation, 72,000. And the housing, we have 414 plus thousand. And we do have our committee right now has 7,500 for our expenses. And are there any questions on that?
I mean, I just want to say, open space was 55.
It's 55.
With 55.
Yeah, 55. Actually, the whole thing is $55,625.50.
65 or 55?
Sorry.
Then,
I do have a question.
yeah,
When different groups will come forward and present the project, and the projects are awarded money through CPA, is there a time limit that they have to use that money before it's returned, or any unused balance is returned?
well, if they're working on something, like right now, the Historical Society has the money for the Clark Chapman, but they've not been able to do much over the winter, of course. But if they're working on it, and I think we have to look at extenuating circumstances too, of course.
No, I'm thinking when they get the award, is it for 3 years, let's say?
No,
No, there's no time.
There has not been any time limit on any of the awards.
it seems to me if they're working on something, then that's one thing. If they don't seem to be working on it, and we have asked several times to have monies returned. In fact, sometimes the organization will say return the leftover money, but they haven't been quick about putting it back in our proper accounts, which I have noticed in the past. So once we have a more normal situation, we probably should begin to try to do something about those. I know.
Yeah, the reason I asked the question is I was on some webinar for the state, and they were talking about CPA funds, and they were recommending to towns that they set a limit, a time limit. That doesn't mean that it can't be extended, but that does keep the money moving for its intended purposes. I'm sorry about the dog. I'll mute again.
That's okay. Well, that's something we might want to consider, especially with some of them. I think others of them do need to be a little more open. I know that they've been working on Bullabrie Field until things kind of shut down. And that's been going on for a while, but it's a multi-year. We could look at things like that and give them at least a suggested time to get it finished. And some of them I think people just don't realize they need to tell them that they're done. And sometimes they're not very big either. I don't think we young woman that was doing the roof over the playground at school realized that she needed to tell somebody that $156.24 wasn't needed. You know, so that one can come back in.
Virginia, excuse me, this is Marla Hank.
Yeah.
I have two amounts that conservation would like to return, but because the town really doesn't have a full-time accountant yet, we don't have a way to. We want to. Do you want to know those amounts or?
No, I think we'll wait. I think, well, maybe Francine knows if they're quicker to solving that problem of not having anyone in the accountant side.
Okay. We do have an interim accountant who's been working probably 6 weeks now. And this Friday, we're holding interviews with the two final candidates for the full-time permanent position. So I'm hoping after those interviews within, I'll say 2 to 4 weeks, that individual, because they're both working, would be able to, whichever one we choose, would be able to accept the position and move on.
Excellent.
It's been a long haul, I know.
And it's been, I hesitated to do Father Ed because I know he was doing that with everything else. So it's sort of like, how can one person do everything? But we could begin to work on some of them because there's some that have been there for quite a while. Okay. Well, keep those figures in mind because all sorts of things could be happening with different projects. The next thing is we belong to the Community Preservation Coalition. It's a separate entity. It doesn't have anything to do with the state. In fact, they're the ones that do the, the lobbying for us and all, and help get the change in the car or the deed transfers when they move that money up, so that we're going to probably next year we'll get 100% match for two reasons. One, it's a whole year of the higher amount, and it is also, it's been an active, don't ask me why, it's been an active year for, housing sales and other kind of real estate sales. And but they were the lobbying group for us, and they are the ones that if you've got a question, you can go to. If you're not familiar with it and aren't checking in on it, just go to Community Preservation Coalition, and they can give you all sorts of information as to what's going on. They also have a database that you can go into, and you can see every project that has been reported since community preservation began. You're not going to want to sit there and read the whole thing, but you can sort by project. You can sort by the town. And with some of the things that are coming up, we might want to look at, for example, down the road, maybe the old town hall. You could go in and look at what's been done with older buildings throughout the state with community preservation money. Oh, excuse me. And you can go into Southampton's and see every project that we have completed, and even the one we didn't complete. So, it's well worth that. But we do pay dues to that, and they may sound kind of high, but I think they're well worth it. We need to decide if we want to spend $875 of our operating expenses to be an active member this next year.
I just want to say that Virginia has a really good working relationship with the coalition, and I think it's been much to our advantage because of that, and I would certainly support paying the dues.
Can I ask another question, Virginia? And Janet, being new to this, do you have access to people with good answers if you have questions regarding, some subtle, unusual kind of question that comes up? Is that a valuable resource for you?
The person that is heading it, well, the one before him too, but Stuart Saginaw just has good information. And he saved us from making a very serious mistake several years ago.
Oh, good. All right. Sounds worth it.
He looked at it and he said, I don't think they should be doing that because of the situation. And it was good.
Okay.
We actually pulled the article from the floor of town meeting because he got in touch with me that day and said, we shouldn't be doing that. It's not, it's against the law.
Good. Sounds worth it. So I'm in favor of continuing the membership with the coalition, paying the dues.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion on that?
I move that that Southampton CPC continue to be a member of the coalition.
I'll second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
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 I guess most people have voted. Okay, that's good. The next item is, the possible, this very recent thing that came up on the possible land acquisition. And I'm hoping somebody has some information on it to share with the rest. This is the land that's someplace adjoining some of our other land.
Yeah, Marla, do you want to talk about that first, or it would be an acquisition through the Conservation Commission?
Right,
Yeah.
I can speak of it briefly, but because Open Space is working with the landowner, so there's different contact points, but the Conservation Commission has a 50-acre parcel on Pomeroy Mountain, and we don't have parking there. And also that part of town has had an increase of people who want to be up on the mountain because it's gorgeous, as well as during the pandemic, you just want to get away. And similarly, there's been an increase on some of the properties through which people cut to get there, closing them off, which of course they have every right. When you have private property, you can post it, keep out. So this particular property we've had our eye on because it's 40 acres next to ours. It would solve a few problems that we have in the area, but that's not the main point. The main point is it's a gorgeous abutting open space that traditionally had been used with school children going up there years ago, because when children used to walk a little further than they do now, they used to walk from the elementary school up the hill, up into the mountain area. Now I have to say, I don't know what they did there, maybe had a picnic and came back down, but it's beautiful. And so I guess I can leave Cindy to further address it. It's on our list of properties we would love to have as part of open space for a number of points.
Okay. So I'm representing, am I on here for the planning board or am I here for the open space? I don't know what I'm here for, but anyway, I'm on the open space committee. I'm the chairperson. And we are doing exactly what Marla said. We've already been cataloging particular properties for the value that they would bring, either conservation because of the wildlife and the ecological value, or, for example, what Marla just said, something that's actually contiguous to other conserved spaces. And we know in our town that there is a strong interest in conservation. Not every single person, but we are aware of that. And that comes directly from surveys that have been done in the last year and a half or so, one being the survey to update the open space and recreation plan, and the other fairly recent and very well participated in survey, which is the update of the master plan. And open space preservation and conservation came in very high in both of those cases. So recognizing this particular parcel that's Marla has spoken about several times, I made a direct contact more than once with the owner, who's elderly, and also most recently 3 different phone calls with his son. Owner is currently not residing in Southampton because of his health. He still owns his house in Southampton, but his health is declining. And the son says not in any of these tax deferred type programs like Chapter 61, 61A or B, and paying high taxes on this, given that it's totally not able to be developed. It's on a town road that is no longer used. It's not even really a town road. And they are interested in selling it. So hopefully within the next week or so, Marla and I are going to be able to do a Zoom meeting with the son, maybe daughter. She's in North Carolina, maybe the elderly gentleman himself. We're not really sure who all will be involved. We've gotten a kind of a soft, it's strictly verbal appraisal, and we have a sense for what this type of property will go for. So there's 2 parts for a reason for us being here. One is because if this potential goes through, we might only be looking for $40,000 or $45,000 to acquire this parcel, which means it would be a request through the CPA money to go to town meeting, and it's not going to go, not going to be a grant request or anything like that. It's not a very high amount of money compared to some of the other acquisitions we've done. So that's one thing, but that we don't even have a proposal before this committee because it's just, there's too many pieces that are not pulled together for that. However, we might need a formal appraisal. So in that case, I think, Marla, you submitted a proposal for CPC money if we get to that point. And it could be somewhere between $500 and $1,500. So am I right, Marla? You put it in for $1,500, and it only is going to, ultimately we may need it anyway in order to do the actual acquisition. We may need to get a formal appraisal. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but so that's the second part of, or actually the first part of the request for funding.
I did send that in an email to Virginia, copied to Joy, because she's the Concom liaison to this committee. And I had copied it to Diana Fetterman because she's our, the Concom liaison to the Open Space Committee and has been working on paperwork. So yes, it was for the 1,500 because we know to ask for the higher amount and we can always give it back.
Well, here's the story. We have appraisals can be in that operating expenses. So we can say tonight that we'll use that for the appraisal up to that amount if it's needed. And it doesn't have to go to town meeting. We don't get tangled up in all of that. We just need to know if that's what would be most expedient to do. And there again, if you don't need it, it can immediately go back into our operating expenses. So That is what I have to say about that. We, of course, would have to then take, if this thing came together, as it sounds like there's some interest in certainly doing it, then we would have to, it would have to go to town meeting for the actual purchase price. But we can use that money, some of that's $7,500 as operating expenses. And seeing as that's for the year starting in July 1, and we haven't used any of it, in a lot of years we don't use it anyway. At one time, there were a lot of conferences and things that people could go to, but that's not happening that much anymore. So I guess questions, anyone has any questions?
I have one somewhat administrative question. Given what I just said, we're not really sure we're going to need it. Can you just keep it if it's voted that we can utilize that out of the administrative fund?
Yeah.
Can we just have you keep it, and then once we need it, we'll then request it?
Yeah, it just sits there. And it's ours, so it probably would be wisest to, just say it's okay to use it, and then you could let me know and we could move forward with that.
Okay.
If that's what's needed. So any other questions? Any place any wants to go with this? I need a motion.
I move that we authorize up to $1,500 from the administrative budget for the potential appraisal of property on Pomeroy Mountain.
Yeah. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
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 I thank everyone. Any abstentions or negative? Okay, we got that taken. Okay, the next thing is the project request for phase 2 of the Manhan Meadows project. So would someone like to speak to that?
Hi, Virginia, it's Marla again. Diana Fetterman would have been speaking, but something came up today, so she wasn't able to. We had previously, as you know, asked for funding for last year, and after months delay because of COVID, we finally received it. But we also knew we couldn't ask for the full amount of the project because the grants have a limit. So we broke it into 2 parts, and we're going to then ask for the rest of it this year. And the funding for this project is to replace the bridge that crosses the Manhan. The bridge is very old, and it served its purpose decades ago, but particularly as now trails and anything associated with them, we have to be more aware of accessibility. And for older people or for folks with kids, it's not ideal. It's not at an ideal location on the river itself because it's in a bend, and so it keeps washing out. And the structure is high maintenance. So we were requesting for funding to be the match of the grant for the replacement of the bridge. However, since the maximum amount of the we can get from the state for this type of trail work is $50,000, and the cost of the bridge and everything associated with it would be closer to 100,000. So it's more than a 20% amount. It's close to half. Now, you would have the paperwork in front of you. I don't, because I wasn't anticipating originally speaking to this.
I might have had it one time. Do others have that?
Yes, but I have to get going.
Okay.
I'm gonna, do we need me though to vote on this? Because I will sign on from my phone.
No, we're set.
Okay.
Might need you to, kind of push it a little, but or one way or another.
Okay, I'll call in then and on my phone. Okay.
It's only going to take, I think, well, let's
Thank
see,
you, Joy.
very quickly. Do other people have questions? I would say one thing in putting together an article for the town meeting to say that money is contingent upon getting the grant.
Absolutely.
So,
And where is this bridge again? I didn't catch where the bridge was.
It's on the Manhan Meadow, in the Manhan Meadow Sanctuary that
Oh, okay.
connects both
Okay.
sides of the river. And we
I
have
understand.
trails on both sides.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I'm joining from my phone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joy.
thanks for coming.
Now, Diana had sent a picture of, I believe she had sent you a picture of what the bridge structure would look like, because there's a similar bridge in Northampton.
Well, I did not know how to send that on. I sent on the proposal, but I wasn't sure that if I just sent the picture on, it was going to come out, and some of you had trouble anyway.
Yeah, we couldn't open it.
Yeah, so, I'm going to have to work on that, see what the problem is with sending things, but so they haven't had access to the bridge pictures. But yeah,
We definitely would want to be sure that you can see what it looks like. And the lifespan of the bridge we're proposing with almost no maintenance is about 75 years. So I myself will not be worrying about that. But as opposed to some, there are some structures that need a lot more maintenance. And we realize it's an important place. The river that section of the river falls under the endangered species part of the state. So we have to be very mindful with what we do down there. But it's something that's lighter weight that would be constructed elsewhere, brought in, and bolted together on the site.
any other questions, comments?
Marla, I'm sorry, I didn't get a copy of that, or I didn't notice that I got it. How much are you looking for from CPC?
Close to, but not $50,000. I can't remember honestly, because my focus on this meeting was the Pomeroy Mountain property. This was Diana's thing, but I know it was either 48 something or 49 something. So call it 50 as the very high end.
Okay.
So,
And which fund would this come from, Virginia?
It could come from one of two. It could come from, okay, here it is. It could,
Nona, come on. Sorry, it's 48,755.
okay,
thank you.
and we would write that in. It would be contingent upon getting the 50,000. It's if you're looking at the funds that we have and at the numbers that I gave you, let's see what I've done with that. But yeah, we
Open space has 55,000.
55, but then we have used the undesignated, which has 616,000 in it, and they are carrying it now. In our list, the funds that we have to save for the payment on the bonding for Pomeroy Meadow, that's a separate area. So separately.
So the undesignated amount of 616,000 does not include what is being set aside for that debt service.
It doesn't look it.
Okay.
Each year they're putting it there. So, but there are other things too that can come out of undesignated. So that's one thing we have to remember too. That's why I gave you the figures.
And I do have a little bit of money, as I said before, to give back, 1,752 for the tree cleanup, because you had given us 7, we spent 5 something, so there's a little bit of that. From last year's grant match, because the state gave us less money, we had less than we could take from you, because you had approved 17,000. The most we can take is 12,500. Wow. So we immediately need to give back 4,500. So I know these are not $50,000, but it's $6,000.
That's what you've got for the open space that's in our, well, that's open space recreation too. That's both of those.
So if this approximately 48,000 came out of the open space money, and then we needed to request the funding to the purchase of that property we just mentioned a moment ago, could we then say, could that come out of the undesignated? Is that how that would work?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's, in fact, there have been some people that have been critical that we're not using monies as, we're taking tax money and state money and we're not using it.
Okay.
So not that I believe we should spend everything.
Right.
Because, as I said, I think we've got some other things coming up. So.
And just let me just throw I'm of a mind that if you don't demonstrate that you're using the money somewhere down the line, the state may look at that and say, you don't need the match that we currently are giving you because you're not spending it.
Well, they won't, but we've already had one attempt here in town.
Yeah.
Yes. Things.
Yeah, that would have to come locally.
It would have to be local. They aren't going to change that law, but or take it away or anything. State.
Okay, but
yeah, there are people in town that say if you're not going to use it, don't take it from us. So anyway, so what do we want to do with this?
So are you looking for a motion at this point to support the, okay, so I moved that we support the distribution of the money from either open space or undesignated to help finalize the project on Manhan Meadows, specifically the bridge repair.
Replacement.
Replacement, sorry. Thank you.
All right, I'll second that.
Do we want to throw in the contingent upon getting the grant, or, because I'm not sure we want to pay the whole.
Okay, and so let me edit that slightly to say contingent on the expected grant monies so the project can go forward.
Okay, second,
I'll second.
those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think most of you. Any no's?
And now I want to say, no, I just want, should it say open space and or undesignated instead of open space or undesignated
Fine, and or,
and or? Okay,
whatever is important, yeah.
okay. After we've already approved the motion. Okay,
Well,
thank you.
We'll let you make that edit.
Okay, thank you.
There's a couple other things that I don't know if anyone wants to speak about the, whatever you're calling it, with the Barnes Aquifer.
I can speak to that. That's again out of the Open Space Committee. One of our members, Charlie McDonald, had made a suggestion that an educational, is sort of multi-part educational materials be created to support what we know about the Barnes Aquifer and specifically what homeowners should be doing to protect the Barnes Aquifer. So through what's called an LTA grant that PVPC agreed to, we got 3 professional days of people's time from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to help put together the brochure and the map. And that included an individual who's very expert on water issues, Patty Gambarini, and also a technical person named something, I forgot his name. So that's all underway, but what we didn't get money for was the printing and the mailing. So I believe that that is what the proposal is requesting, money for the printing and the mailing, and also that there would be a large map that could be framed for town hall. Let's hope we all go to town hall again someday. We will. That would say, where is the Barnes Aquifer? This is a very critical natural part of our town. The fact that our town, a great portion of it is over this very large aquifer, and it's drinking water, certainly for our town and for, I think, Westfield and Holyoke. So it's a very important ecological part of our world, I guess. I think it's a really great project. It was well embraced by Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. Now, there is a caveat to this. We're putting in another grant request through DCR, Division of Conservation Resources in the state, and that is also a complex grant request, which includes the money for the mailing and somewhat for the printing of the educational materials. We might hear that we get that grant. That grant's going to be going in on Friday this week. If that's the case, we won't need CPA money for the printing and the mailing of this material, but we will still need CPA money for the large map and for the framing. So I think it's the same circumstances when we talked about the appraisal. We'd like to request that CPC approve the proposal. And am I right, Virginia? I think he said it was for $4,000. Is that what he put it in for?
Well, the figure I got was 3,700.
Okay, 3,700.
This has to go to town meeting.
Yes, we know that.
And typical of what I have gotten over the years when Charlie was doing things, he's not clear on funding. I mean, not the amount. He doesn't, and I told Janet to tell him, we need to know costs. I'm just not gonna, I just don't like giving an amount of money and not being sure exactly what's covered with this. So I told Janet to go back and tell Charlie, find out what it's going to cost, so that when somebody has to defend it at town meeting, they will.
Okay, well, that's really good to know, because, and I agree with you, we weren't sure how many people we were going to send the mailing to. Were we going to send it only to people who live over the aquifer, or were we going to send it to all town residents? And I'm actually in favor of all the town understanding the importance of this aquifer. But we may not need to approve that tonight. And the reason is this: we're going to have another meeting of CPC in March, correct? By that time, we're going to know whether we got this other grant funding. Okay, so we can be far more specific at that time.
Yeah. Well, I was going to propose that we wait.
Okay.
Because we've had some strange results when we've had, this is going to cost less than in the past. And one that was going to cost less than $5,000 ended up costing $8,500, but only 5,000 had been voted. And Charlie wanted to come back and ask us for more, and I said, I don't like doing that.
Okay.
And I tried to encourage him to get prices, and I'd asked Janet to let him know that he needs to work on the prices. And I'm not sure about printing. Maybe somebody knows more about this than I do. But we did have some printing done, and when the bill came in, which I was told that they should have used wherever the town goes.
Okay, that's a good point. The town used to go a lot to puffer printing in Easthampton. Puffer printing has gone away. It's not there any longer, unfortunately. The town also has used Paradise Copy in Northampton, and my experience for town-related things and other personal things, they're highly reasonable. They really are, and they help with, lots, sort of the expert graphic design aspect of things as well. So let me just say this: it is a committee approach, Janet. Virginia. It's not just Charlie, and we talk about it, and we're going to talk about it again at our next meeting, which is next Thursday. I see the value of being as specific as possible. So I'm in favor of having this discussion tonight, and then having a further discussion at the next CPC meeting, and possibly a vote at that time.
And the finances need to be there.
We'll get quotes by then, yes.
And, yeah, I know it's not just him, but this is kind of a little pattern that I'm looking for costs.
I just want to say that Virginia advised me of this, and I sent an email to Charlie last night saying he needed to get 3 quotes on the 2 different sections of his proposal, and he emailed me back that he would wait until March to present his proposal again.
Yeah.
Great.
I sent it to Virginia. She's aware.
And that'll give him a chance to check with if they're, with Paradise, if that's the one the town has been using, because that means probably it's a pretty good price.
And then there's also the package store that was formerly right there in the Big Y Plaza, but then was forced to move out to Hampden Ponds Plaza because the urgent care center went into their space. Yeah, and they also have done town work, and they might give us a break. I know they did on one thing that we did with them a while back.
Well, that's nice.
What's that?
That's nice to know. I didn't know they were there.
Yeah, now they're out there
Oh,
in
yeah.
the big plaza out there, Hampton Ponds, you know where that is. It's in Westfield, but
It's not that far.
it's
Cindy,
on Route 202. Yeah.
excuse me, there's another printer too, and I'm unfortunately at loss for their name, and that's embarrassing. They're in Easthampton because after Puffer closed, we were without and, trying to see. And I had talked to Tom Bashista because he does graphic work besides working, in his family orchard. And he had recommended this person who had grown up and went to school with him in Southampton, who has this printer shop in Easthampton. If you're heading to Northampton from here, just past the big Easthampton Savings Bank at the light, take a right, and it's right behind them down there.
Okay, so maybe we'll get that'll be the third one then. We can get 3 quotes. That'll be good. And I will say I had an email tonight from Charlie because I said, what's going on? And he forwarded to me an email from one of the PVPC people. They got sort of tangled in some of their other work, the technical person. So to Charlie's credit, he doesn't have all the information yet.
Yeah.
Therefore, it looks to me like the right thing to do is wait until the next meeting to talk about this.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I like the idea of sending it to everyone, not just people that are on top of the.
Can I just mention something? A large portion of the aquifer is in Easthampton.
Yeah,
Would we not want to do something, this same project with them, the information isn't going to change, obviously, in terms of the educational value of it. Would that ever be something we would want to collaborate with? Only because there used to be this consortium of the towns, involved in the aquifer, and that kind of dissipated, but Easthampton was trying to revive it, and I would think that there might be some interest in their part. I don't know.
well, of course, we had worked with them on that piece of land that was in Southampton, but their major water source, which is the aquifer, several years ago. And that most of that land was put into restriction. And we'd worked with them, but that's a good idea. I know I cringe because where I live is the major access into Red Brook Estates, and that is right over the parts of the aquifer. They had written in to when that was being built that there would be no chem lawn and all that stuff. Well, the houses have been sold several times, and now all summer long I watch the chem lawn and other going up there. I almost feel like going up and saying, you're not supposed to be doing this, but,
You should report that to the homeowners association. That information is recorded at the registry of deeds. That's part of how the endangered species people allowed them to build there. And the town now holds the CR that's in your backyard.
yeah, but they're going up there. I mean, I don't know. It's open. I really don't think all the people know they're supposed to do it.
So that's part of the rationale, is the educational aspect. Does it have teeth? Can it be enforced? Not really, unless we get somebody else involved.
Not by you, but
Yeah, but by somebody, maybe. In answer to your question, Francine, about working with Easthampton, Patty Gambarini, the person that's the expert, she got very excited about this, and she saw the value of bringing in other towns. Now, if it was strictly our money that was the expertise to writing up this educational stuff, then we might say, don't use it for another town. We wouldn't, because we're nice people, but we might. but it isn't. It's LTA money. It's money it's state money exactly that's being used for the creation of the educational materials. So ultimately, it might be able to be done and used for Easthampton or used for Westfield or someone else.
I know they've had problems in Westfield. They've had wells taken off, lined in the summer. Part of it is I don't know quite what to do because it's the planes from the airport there.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that's right over the anyway. Okay, we'll wait on that till next month. One other real quick thing. On Francine, check me here. On, is it February 23rd? There's going to be the report on the Old Town Hall at the select board meeting.
Well,
Yes.
Hill
Yes.
Associates has submitted a draft of a report, which has not been finalized that I know of yet. So I think, Virginia, I think what you're saying is that the final report is due to be presented February 23rd. Is that correct?
Right, yeah, it was, you know, it's to make it, rather than trying to have everybody wade through the report,
Yeah,
to have
50 pages.
have the engineers come and you know, just discuss it and talk about I think the various, I'm not saying options, but there are, you know, different aspects of the project will be broken out.
And that will be the 23rd.
Yes.
Okay. Because it is a 50-page report as it stands right now.
Yeah.
I am familiar with it. So.
What time does that start?
Well, it's a select board meeting.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Virginia, are we off the subject of potential CPA use of funds?
Well,
'Cause
right.
I just wanted to give you a heads up on one.
Okay, but no, I brought this up that I want as many people that can to tune into that because we may be looking at some things dealing with the Old Town Hall.
Yeah.
So, no, have you got another?
I just wanted to give you a heads up. I think most of you are aware that there is a committee that has been formed in conjunction with PV, Pioneer Valley, using LT, whatever that thing is, funds for the mapping and the potential recognition of the Massachusetts portion of the canal that would be taking over from Southwick into Northampton. That committee has been in existence for about a year now, and I'm a member of it. And we have recently run out of the funds and requesting more funds. Now, where we stand on that is that they have gone out for a request for quotation for the digital mapping of the Massachusetts portion of that canal with the thought in mind that eventually it would be recognized as a national historic site. At some point, each of the 6 towns involved is going to have to come up with some money to pay a consultant. That, since the quotes are not in yet, it's a little bit difficult to determine how much that would be. But my guess is that the Southampton portion of it, as well as the other 5 communities, could be in the neighborhood of $14,000 to $15,000. I just want to give you that heads up. There is money in historical preservation, but once that figure comes in, I will be coming to you as a committee for that consideration.
Great. I'm glad they're back getting that going again. How many years ago did they start?
Oh, a long time, a long time. And certainly Zoom meetings are not pushing it along very quickly,
No.
but I was able to spend a day with one of the members from Pioneer Valley, and we drove the entire route. So I pretty much know now where it existed for Southampton. I'm saying the entire route in Southampton, not the whole Massachusetts portion. But I pretty much know now where it did exist, and but it's an ambitious project, and it's going to take cooperation from the other 5 communities.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it had started up again.
Oh yeah, over a year.
Great. Does Dick Ferry know that?
Oh yes.
Because
Dick Ferry and I speak at least 3 times a week.
Yeah, that's great. Because I know he was involved with it. Some pretty neat people were involved with it. The original group.
Yeah.
The woman down in Southwick has passed.
Yes.
So she had moved to Greenfield anyway, but she passed. Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that's happening.
Did that DLTA application get finished, Bob? Because the deadline is looming. You probably already know that, or the people that
Ed said I don't think I have the authority to execute it, so I had Ed do it, and he did it. Yes.
Okay, it has to come from either planning board, select board, or TA, town administrator. So that's good.
Well, yeah,
okay.
he did. Yes, he did it.
Wonderful.
Okay. Is there anything else that we should deal with tonight?
Can I just make a little public service announcement?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm writing the report from the almoners for our all-town report. Isn't that what it's called? And I want everyone to know that the almoners has done a lot of outreach this year. That's really been the primary thing we've done. We've done emails. Faith Harrison, who's one of our new almoners, has created kind of a poster thing that's been put on Facebook on the police page and on the fire page and on the library page, and I think the Council of Aging. I think Roberts Floyd's newsletter has a copy of it. Believe it or not, even though we're in the midst of a worldwide pandemic and we hear all kinds of statistics of people that have lost their jobs, et cetera, it's not been easy to find out who in Southampton really needs the help. Of course, we all know that almoners is a last resort type of funding. We have to really look and see, and this is based on the way the original wills were written, where these bequests were made to fund the principal of the Almoners Fund, and it has to be a Southampton resident. I'm certain a lot of you, or all of you are aware of how this works. But public service-wise, I'm still wondering if anyone knows of an individual or a family that are really in a hurting place. It can be anonymously proposed or referred to me through the town website, or you can contact me directly. I don't care. We keep high level confidentiality about every aspect of it. We won't even let you know if we can do it. If you knew of somebody, we won't be getting back to you on it. So that's my public service announcement about the almoners. Okay.
Anything else? Well,
I move to adjourn.
is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Don't think we need to vote on it. We can vote by closing out.
Thanks, Virginia. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good.
Okay. Good night.
Night.
Good night.